I have always been given the freedom to make my own choices about my faith. My parents encouraged my brother and me to take our own path. We both chose to be B'nai Mitzvah and continue to choose to be a part of this community. I was bat mitzvahed about 4 years ago to the day. Yom Kippur has always been a particularly important time for me, not only as a time to reflect on the past year, but also to remember my own first big step into Judaism and adulthood. Every year, I take the time to remember why I chose to become B'nai Mitzvah. I look at how my own beliefs have changed. Why? I mean, truly, why do we gather here on this particular day, refusing to eat or drink? Why do we choose it? It is because we care. We want to open our hearts and our minds to change and self-betterment. We accept physical and emotional vulnerability so that we can grow. We take this time on Yom Kippur to reflect inwardly so that we can step into the new year putting our best selves forward. For the past 10 days, we have looked back on our misdeeds and tried to atone for them in the ways we can. Sometimes, though, I think we confuse what is right from wrong. What we sometimes feel guilty about might not be so bad. What we feel righteous about might not always be right. Today, I want to talk about selfishness because it is so much more complicated than we usually think. Many people during this time of year parse out times they have been selfish in order to apologize for them. Plenty more make it their year's goal to be less selfish. But, and hear me out, I believe selfishness can be a good thing. The opposite of selfishness isn't selflessness. It is neglect. The last selfish thing I did was leave school early to come to this service. Think about it. My teachers put time and effort into the lectures that I'm missing. Now I have to go back to them and make up an additional amount of their time to check in on what I missed. I'm also missing a student government meeting, and now someone else has to take notes in my stead. I could have at least gone for an hour or two and listened to the lecture. But instead, I chose to stay home and use this time for my own personal spiritual growth. I did that with myself in mind, a selfish act. I get to sing instead with this incredible group of people, but I get to be here and a part of this service and uplift with our voices, our minds, and our souls. And tomorrow I can go back to school and feel fuller and enriched by this experience. In the end, I don't think I have anything to feel guilty for. But don't run off after this service thinking selfishness is always good. True selfishness is not something you should strive for. The kind of selfishness I am referring to is more along the lines of self-care. It is an acknowledgement of your own humanity and your own needs. Give yourself the space to need things, just as you would give others that space. Reach inward today and focus on yourself. It is not always easy to know what the right thing is. You might think the easier, more comfortable route is the one you should choose, because in the short term, the alternative would cause you discomfort. For example, back in the 2021 election, I participated actively in the Democratic campaign. I wrote letters to voters in swing states, did phone banking to help Democrats get registered to vote, and did text banking to help people find their most convenient polling stations. There were so many times where the work felt so exhausting. There were so many times when I wanted to abandon the piles of unwritten letters and leave the election up to fate. But in the end, I persisted, and the effort I put in paid off. It would have been a huge mistake, both for my community and myself, to have given up. In the long run, it was just as beneficial to me as it was to those around me. Doing good, doing mitzvah, is not a sacrifice. It is an investment in yourself and those around you. The Torah teaches us to love your fellow as yourself. Treat yourself as you would want others to be treated. Listen to yourself as you would listen to others. Show yourself compassion just as you would show others compassion. We can only begin to love the people around us when we begin to love ourselves. We take this time on Yom Kippur to look inwardly at ourselves, to give ourselves space to heal and atone, so that we can step into 5783 with lighter hearts and love to share. Rabbi Hillel famously said, "If I am not for myself, who will be for me? If I am only for myself, what am I? And if not now, when?" Shana Tova.